I'm CK. Today we've got a filter from Cubusynth. This is their CS-20 voltage controlled filter. I think it's their interpretation of the MS-20 filters. So we'll see. Hope it sounds really crunchy. Hope it's fun to put together, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's see what's in the bag. Cubusynth, dual CS20 VCF. There's documentation and a QR code that will probably give us access to that documentation. Cubusynth out of Portugal. I will not try and pronounce the name of the city because I would do that very badly and I don't want to be offensive. Okay. Whole bunch of little plastic bags, which is great because that's all recyclable. So here's it's very clear. Capacitors, transistors, diodes, pin headers, screws, the ICs, power cable, panel screws, put that far aside. And all the resistors. So resistor time is all in one bag today. There's the controls, and here's the front panel and circuit board. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, I've done one other Cubusynth board and I liked it. I forget which one it was though. I do so many that I lose track sometimes. So it looks like here's the frequency control. Low pass, high pass balancing, low pass, high pass balancing. This is a dual, by the way. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Q factor for 1 and 2, CV 1 and 2, and then out 1 and out 2, and in 1 and in 2. So it looks pretty straightforward, easy to master the use of it. Now I'll get the circuit board out. 2 of them, and we've got lots of resistors. Resistor time is going to be quite long, and all the values are on the board, so you don't have to worry about looking at a parts list or whatever. And bunch of op amps, different kinds, some pin headers, transistors, 2 ferrite cores, which is nice. Back of the board. Oh, this is March 2023, so it's relatively recent. Looks like we've got volts per octave for trimmers for filter 1 and 2, or 1 and 2, and then an offset on the back of the pots and jacks board. Front of the pots and jacks, and even more resistors, and pot, and 8 jacks. And all the pots look to be 100K, which makes it more convenient for us. Let's see, do we want to look at anything in any of these bags in particular? I don't think so. They'll come out as we put it all together. Oh, actually, I do want to look and see what kind of pots they use. They're using both. They're using the tall plastic ones, and I'm going to dump this out so we can see all of it. So they're using the tall black ones, and they're using the slightly more robust metal green-based ones, not using any blue-based ones. And thank you, they took all the panel nuts off the audio jacks, which I appreciate. And again, I remember this from before. These feel like they may be 3D printed on these knobs, but I don't think they are. I can't tell for sure. But the knobs are really nice. Oh, let me double check the... Well, that's interesting. Oh, no, it's not interesting at all. I was just confused, so I'm not even going to share what my confusion was. We've got, are the trimmers all the same? Looks like they're all 1Ks. Oh no, this is a 100K. Interesting. Let me see if that's marked on the back, if the values are marked on the back here. Where did it go? No, they're not. Except, I'm sorry, the part number is listed, but not the, well, that in this case does give you the value. Never mind. So that all looks good. So that's all the bits and pieces, and again, we'll dive in here and look at the resistors after I get the soldering iron heated up and start putting this thing together. Okay, so the build guide says we should start with the diodes, and we could do either the diodes or the resistors first, of course, but we may as well do the diodes first. If that's the way they'd like us to, that's the way they do it. So there's two 4148s here that are kind of tangled up with these electrolytics. See if there are, I don't think there are any other diodes, but I'm going to dump all these out. I mean, there are some LEDs, but not. Up there are two more protection diodes. So we'll put all these on. Oops, and a trimmer that got stuck to that little, I mean a cap, foil cap that got stuck to the adhesive that was holding the bag together. That would have been disappointing if I couldn't find that later on. So these go by wherever the power connector is, I'm pretty sure. That's usually where it is. Yeah, there we are. 4007 and 4007. Pretty safe bet when you see these larger 4007 diodes, the black and gray, you can bet they will probably be near the power connector to ensure that there's not any badness in your incoming voltage, like polarity being reversed and blowing up all your op amps. Now the holes on this board are a little snug because the 4007s have thick leads. They're not like resistor or the 4148s. So the diodes are on now. Let me get another parts tray here and open up the resistors and see what we have going on here. Oops. A whole bunch of resistors, and they thoughtfully put the values on the top strip, which is just polite of them. And I think we'll do all the 10Ks first, since there are a bunch of them. And then there are almost, well actually I think there are more 100Ks. So we'll start with the 100Ks. I always like, personally, I just like doing the ones that are the most first. So we will find our first 100Ks, put them on, and they're on both boards, as we talked about a little while ago. In fact, I think I'm going to put all the 100Ks on this board first. There's 3, 6, 7 of them. So I'll be working on both boards, and of course there's not much to say additional to what I've already said about these resistors, so I will put the video playback in fast motion and you can watch the resistors fly onto the board and enjoy resistor time. And that is it for resistor time. Two interesting things, or two things to note. The first one is probably more important. There are 470 ohm resistors, 4K7 resistors, and 470K resistors on the board. So just make sure you get the 4s in the right spot. The other thing is these two 10 ohm resistors, which are basically fusible links, are also marked as beads, so you could, I guess, he's saying you could replace that with a ferrite core as a little inductor there instead of the resistor. I'm not sure why he picked one over the other, but just interesting. So that's resistor time for tonight, and took long enough that I'm going to turn everything off and go inside because the cats are hungry. Now we're going to put the sockets on the board, and I got to figure out where they are. A bag called ICs. Pretty high probability. And there's all the ICs and all the sockets, and again, I think these LM13700s are DSP chips. Let me look it up real quick. They're not. They're dual transductance amplifiers with linearizing diodes and buffers. So those are amps, and we've got the 074 op amps. So that's what we've got in this. We've got 4 of the op amps and 4 of these LM 1300 700s. But first we got to put all the sockets on the board. And as we usually do, set it on our finger behind the board, solder it, wait for it to cool, double check, yep. Of course we're making sure the notches match the notches on the silk screening on the board, of course. And I'll just put these on all real quickly, nothing much more to say about them. Next we'll do all the 100 nanofarad decoupling caps. That's all these 104s. Usually we get this form factor 104s, but today we got these bigger ceramic disc caps. Nothing particularly wrong with them, they're just a little bit bulkier. And as always, I'm not going to tear them out of the paper tape. I'm going to clip them, because then I don't get bent leads or damage the capacitor accidentally. And as always, we're going to look near all our ICs for these, because that's their primary goal, is to condition power go into these chips. And now we'll do some transistors. Now we'll do the electrolytics. 2 of them go on the front, 2 of them go on the back, so that's 10 micro. Don't care about that one yet. 10 micro. These are the 1 microfarad. Again, since I clipped them out, I have to pay attention to where the white stripe is versus the long lead, but that's okay. And then we're going to put the power connector on, and because it's keyed, we're going to double check the keying. So it's keyed that way, red stripe on that side, so it will go like that. The silk screening also shows how it's keyed, so it's not going to be too hard. I mean, it would be, you'd have to work at it to get it wrong. Now we'll get the 3 trimmers. Get a little more solder while I'm at it. And there's a good indicator where the screw, the adjusting screw, should be on each of these. Even though it'll work the other way, kinda, but you have to know you did it the other way. So just don't do it the other way. No particular compelling reason to do it, unless you just want to be contrary, which I can support. So these are for when it's self-resonating, this sets the octave limit on the incoming voltage, and this one is an offset for resonance. And he'd like us to put the standoff on now. Now we'll set up some pin headers. How does he want to do it? Okay. Just roughly putting these in so they don't fall out while I'm straightening them. Oops, don't want an LED in there, do I? That pin header is being affected by that disc cap, keeping it from going completely straight. So we'll deal with that in a second. Worst comes to worst, I can replace that cap with a smaller one. Okay, now, see, that's very much tilted. Let's see if I can give this a little twist without busting the leads. Okay, that went flat. I gave it just a little twist. Now may as well do this. Put both boards together. So we know the pin headers will fit later. Oops. Of course, when you push down on it and they jump out, that's your own darn fault. And we'll take a look at this one. That's everything done except putting the ICs in. So at this point, because there's so many components here, see, I said I'm going to check my make sure I soldered everything and everything's good, and I didn't. I forgot this line of, didn't get this line of pin headers. That's why you double check. Gonna do one trim here. There's some leads that are pretty close to each other. And now I'll look at all the solder joints, make sure they're all made, make sure they're not. And there's another row that I didn't get, so let me finish going through it. And another row I didn't get. What the heck is the matter with me today? But those seem to be the only problems. Okay, so we can set this board aside and move on to finishing up the pots and knobs, pots and jacks. Oh, first we're going to do the LEDs. Okay. Now, because these LEDs are in this little translucence band here that shows through as you set the frequency, I assume, I'm not going to worry about them being absolutely flat to the board because they're not poking through the front panel. Now we'll just do all the pots and jacks. Now we're going to take the front panel, drop it on here. Come on, guys. Play along. There we go. We're all on. Get my little clamp. Clamp the two sides together like so. Make sure everything is firm. Yeah, see, these tall ones need a little more push. I'll set them down like so. That pushes them through. Now we're going to solder all those connections. And again, I'm going to take a look at all these connections. And now we'll put all the panel nuts on. Now I'm going to put all the ICs in, and I'm going to do them part number by part number so I don't get confused. So that's that board fully populated. Now we'll mate the boards. For final. Put the screw back in the spacer from this side, if I can. Put the knobs on, all the way counterclockwise first, and these are not keyed in any way, so I'm just guessing about how accurate they are, pointing in the right direction. Fortunately, I don't care too much about that. I don't care too much about it because I almost always get it wrong. Or a little offset. Oh, you want the Q on that one. I get it. Put the power cable in for final, just double checking that the red stripe is going the right way, and it is. So there we go. There's the front, side, back, other side, top, and the bottom. Now we'll put it in the rack and see how it filters. Okay, let's turn her on and see if she blows up. No blowing up indicated. Not seeing any LED action, but I don't know whether I should or not. In fact, I'm going to turn the frequency knob to see if it does anything. Nope. You can hear it doing a little something there. Maybe it's the resonance. But anyway, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm connected to my MIDI keyboard for my even VCO. And we'll do volts to octave trim. And we will pick up a tuner. Wait for that to boot up. Let's see what we got. We've got, yep, got to turn it back up again. That's shown an A, octave up. That's good. Actually, it may not be. It may be a little too high. So that's showing A5. I got to turn this up a little more. I'm going to go a little lower here on my keyboard. F5, F3. So it's 1 volt is giving me 2 octaves, and that's a no good. Okay, folks, it's all powered on. I made a mistake. The microphones, my microphone's batteries went dead, so you didn't see what I was doing or couldn't hear what I was doing, so I just deleted that audio or that tape. So what we've done so far is we've taken the output from my even VCO, and plugged it in. Actually, we're not doing that yet. I'm sorry, I apologize. I got myself discombobulated. So what we've done first is we're going to get the self-resonation going. So now it's resonating, and I've got my tuner up. And I'm going to give an F. My tuner is still booting up. I don't know why it's taken so long. So that's a D4. Actually, it's a D2. We'll go up 1 octave. And that's going 1 octave. On the one side, if I had to fix it, I'd turn the tuner back, the pot in the back. Now we'll try number 2, D4, D5. So that's fine, we're getting good volts per octave. So next we're gonna, the one thing I didn't show or I'm not going to show, is matching both Q factor self-oscillation, because that's where we are right now. Let's look at self-oscillation. Go back with our MIDI keyboard. Now I'm going to put my sequencer to provide that notage. And now I'm going to put the LFO in. I'm going to put the LFO into my Q factor. Change the rate of the LFO. So that's all self-resonance. Now we'll do something with actual notes. I'll go into my even VCO, come out of the even VCO into in1, take this out for a minute. Now we'll just use it as a regular filter. It's all the way high, it's all the way low. It's a little bit gritty there. I'm going to change the octave on the VCO. Bring in some resonance. I'm going to plug this VCO LFO back in because I like that. Slow the LFO down some. Now I'm going to go into my VCA because I want to get discrete notes instead of continuous for a little bit. Now let me get this over to there, that's right. And then where's my VC? That's not what I want to do. So that sounds pretty neat. Let's try the other side. It should be the same. It's a little growly. It's a nice little bite. That's with the LFO really slow. I'm going to slow the sequencer down a little bit. Take the LFO speed up a little bit more. Now I'm going to actually put the LFO into note CV, I mean octave CV. And on and on. So as you can see, it works pretty well. It's the self-resonance is nice and the regular resonance is nice, and there's a whole lot of bite, there's a whole lot of overtones coming out of this. It's a really nice little unit. Obviously, It's a longer build than some because it's got a lot of components, but it came out sounding really good. This will be a good one for some, I don't know if I'd use this on rhythm, but this certainly sounds like a good lead filter. So that's it, the CS20F from Cubusynth, and I hope you enjoyed the video.